Okay, everybody, this is what I'm dealing with here. What we're looking at, aside from my bottle of oil, is a brake caliper, of course. This is off a Workhorse W22 chassis. Happens to be a 2003 model year. This is a Bosch brake system. Any of you who have an RV on a W22 have probably experienced some kind of a brake drag. There was a recall on it. And then long and the short of it, the recall had to do with these pistons right here. These pistons were absorbing moisture in the brake fluid. It seemed to affect only the RVs more than any other vehicle. This brake, this caliper system, it's a Bosch unit. It was used on many medium truck chassis. The Ford F53, F550, F650 that I know of. It's also used on International Harvester or International, Kenworth, and there were a bunch of others that I discovered. But it seemed to only affect RVs. And why do you ask? RVs sit a lot. So the brake fluid, being hydroscopic, would absorb moisture, water. That water would mix with the brake fluid, and these phenolic pistons would absorb it. And they would swell when they got hot. Some of you say, bullshit. Well, I have one, and I've been dealing with a brake problem. Took this caliper off, I disassembled it. You see the seals and ring here, pistons. And I put it in the oven at 250 degrees with the seals out of it. These are supposed to be 66 millimeter piston. 66 millimeter converted to inch, because that's all I have, is a 3-inch micrometer, which is right here, is 2.598 inches. At the smallest point here, at ambient temperature, which right now is about 58 degrees, when I did it, it was about 65. These were 2/1000 of an inch over standard at this point. As I moved up the bore, or up the cylinder, up here where the seal was riding with new brake pads, they were about, I'd say 5/1000 over standard. That was at ambient. Put it in the oven, up to 270 degrees. At the high point here, 10/1000 of an inch over standard. About 6,000 down here. Now the brake caliper is still pretty damn warm. I took that out of the oven as well. It's pretty warm. The pistons are probably 110 degrees. And still, with no seals, that's as far as they'll go. There we go. I pushed it in. Now I'll guarantee I won't get that out until it cools. Same piston. Falls in easily here. Now, mind you, when I first took this out of the oven, caliper was at about 70 degrees, room temp. These were about 270. It wouldn't even go through initially entering the bore of the caliper. And this is just gravity. There it goes. And that's it. That's as far as it goes by gravity. Now, you see I'm trying to push it in. There it goes. And I won't be able to get that back out till it cools. So you can imagine, you put new brake pads on your RV, cost you a shitload of money. The moment they start getting warm, the heat will transfer immediately to the phenolic pistons. 250 degrees is nothing for a brake system. That's nothing at all in terms of temperature. These pistons at this outer edge will get to that temperature very quickly. And this caliper will not retract, because the only thing that retracts that piston is a little bit of friction that this rubber seal puts on that piston. It relies heavily on this piston being able to move freely in and out of its bore, which, as you can see, ain't happening. There we go. About a no-go. Here we go. There it is. So, if you own a W22 on any kind of RV, you've probably dealt with this. Now, my biggest beef is that I take these calipers to a remanufacturer and they will exchange them. They have them on the shelf, at least the company I was dealing with. And 9 times out of 10, I get reused pistons. Which in this case, I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to, there you go. You see there's cracks right here. This heat stress cracks. This one, about the same. But a rebuilder would reuse that piston. And I know this because when I put my right rear caliper on, I went 10 miles and that thing was dragging so bad that I cooked my brake pads. It didn't destroy them, but they got hot and the rotor got blue. The rest of the rotors were fine. I measured it, temperature, with a touchless thermometer. 440 degrees on the disc. The other side was 310. So they were definitely dragging. When I contacted the rebuilder, he said, well, I've never had a problem like that before. And I explained to him about the recall with the pistons absorbing moisture. He said he never heard of that before. And he asked me, and this guy was a very good guy, he asked me, what can I do for you? I said, well, you could do one of two things. You could put a steel piston in it for me, or you could put a brand new phenolic piston in it for me. He gave me my caliper back with new phenolic pistons. Haven't had a problem. This happens to be off the right front that started dragging on my way to Ohio. I bought another caliper from him, right off the shelf, had a used piston in it. I'm going to give it a go, see how it does. If it begins to drag, I will get new pistons for it. But now my search is on for caliper kits, which I found the caliper kits. No big deal there. These are a little difficult to find, but I will find them, and I'll rebuild my own caliper because it's not hard. But anyways, for those of you with a W22, that's the problem. Good luck out there, everyone.